Part 1. The Beginning of Us. When I first met Ethan Miller, I believed I had finally found the man who could anchor me in this restless world. Ethan wasn't flashy. He wasn't the loudest voice in the room or the type to seek attention. Instead, he was steady, kind, dependable, and someone who seemed to see me beyond the surface. We met in college at a volunteer event, painting houses for families who couldn't afford repairs. I remember the way he had paint smeared across his cheek, grinning as he worked tirelessly under the summer sun. I teased him about looking like a kid finger painting, and he laughed. That laugh hooked me instantly. What started as friendship quickly grew into something deeper. By our senior year, we were inseparable. Ethan asked me to marry him on a chilly fall evening under a canopy of golden leaves. I said yes, without hesitation. At that moment, I was certain nothing could come between us. Part 2. Building a Life. Marriage wasn't perfect, but we made it work. We got our first apartment in Seattle, a tiny place with squeaky floors and a view of the alley, but it was ours. We cooked dinners together, argued about bills, dreamed about buying a home. Eventually, we did, a small but cozy house with a little backyard where I planted roses. Ethan got a stable job in finance, while I pursued teaching. We supported each other's dreams. We weren't wealthy, but we were happy, or at least I thought we were. But sometimes, cracks appear in the strongest-looking walls long before anyone notices. Part 3. The Distance Between Us. As the years passed, Ethan became busier. His job demanded long hours, late-night calls, and frequent business trips. At first, I didn't mind. I told myself he was working hard for our future. But slowly, the silence between us grew louder than our conversations. He stopped asking about my day. Our dinners turned into hurried meals in front of the TV. The little rituals we once cherished, morning coffee together, evening walks, faded away. I tried to bridge the gap. I left notes in his lunchbox. I planned weekend getaways. But his attention seemed elsewhere, like I was speaking through glass and he couldn't hear me anymore. And then came her. Part 4. The Affair. Her name was Rachel Adams, a colleague from Ethan's office. I didn't know about her at first, but gradually, her name started slipping into his conversations. He'd say things like, "Rachel and I worked late on this project," or, "Rachel came up with a great idea for the client." At first, I brushed it off. Of course, he'd have female coworkers. It would be paranoid of me to assume anything more. But then I noticed the way his face lit up when he mentioned her. That spark I hadn't seen directed at me in months. The first real red flag came when I found a receipt in his jacket pocket. 2 glasses of wine at a restaurant I'd never been to, dated on a night he claimed he was stuck at the office. My heart sank, but I told myself there had to be an explanation. It wasn't until weeks later, when Ethan accidentally left his phone on the counter, that the truth stared me in the face. A message from Rachel popped up. "Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you." I froze. My hands shook as I scrolled further. There were countless messages, each one confirming what I didn't want to believe. Ethan, my husband, the man I thought I knew better than anyone, was having an affair. Part 5. The Confrontation. That night, I confronted him. My voice trembled as I asked, "Who is Rachel to you, really?" The look on his face told me everything before he spoke. Guilt. Panic. Then resignation. He admitted it. He confessed that it had been going on for months, that he never planned for it to happen but couldn't help the connection. He said he still loved me but felt alive with her in ways he hadn't in years. His words shattered me. Alive? What did that make me, dead inside? Just a placeholder until someone more exciting came along? I wanted to scream, to throw things, to collapse. But instead, I stood there, numb, listening to the pieces of my marriage crumble around me. Part 6. The Breaking Point. The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of him. Our wedding photos, the roses in the backyard, the dent in the couch where he always sat. Friends told me to leave him. My mother said I deserved better. Deep down, I knew they were right. But part of me still clung to the memory of who he used to be. I asked myself over and over, Could we fix this? Or was it too late? Ethan begged for forgiveness. He promised to cut ties with Rachel, to go to counseling, to make it right. But every time I looked at him, I saw betrayal. His promises sounded like empty words. Trust, once broken, doesn't heal overnight. Sometimes it doesn't heal at all. Part 7. Walking away. After weeks of torment, I made my choice. I packed a suitcase, left him a letter, and walked out the door of the house we once dreamed of. It was the hardest decision of my life, but staying would have been harder. I moved in with my sister for a while, then found a small apartment of my own. It wasn't much, but it was a space where I could breathe without suffocating in memories. I started therapy. I leaned on friends. I began rediscovering who I was outside of being Ethan's wife. For the first time in years, I picked up painting again, something I had abandoned when life got too busy. And slowly, I realized I hadn't lost everything. I had lost him, but I had found myself again. Part 8. The Aftermath. Months later, Ethan reached out. He wanted to meet. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We sat across from each other at a cafe, two strangers with shared history. He told me he regretted everything. That Rachel had moved on, and he was left with nothing. He said losing me was the biggest mistake of his life. I listened, but I didn't cry. I didn't beg for him back. Instead, I simply said, "We can't undo what's been done." And with that, I walked away one last time, this time without looking back. Part 9. Healing. Healing isn't a straight line. Some days, I still feel the sting of betrayal. But most days, I feel stronger. I've learned that love doesn't mean losing yourself for someone else. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is let go of what's breaking you. The affair broke us apart, but it also freed me.